Hello, 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 everyone. How are you? Hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day and may peace be upon you. Thank you for joining my show. Yes, I can with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today I have the beautiful, the inspirational, the heartwarming Deb Rosman, who is a #1 international best-selling author of the book, The Grieving Heart, and It Is Done. And today, Deb and we're going to be talking about how to be, or the tips to be in creating joy in grieving process. Now, Deb can come in and say hello, 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 and welcome.
Yes, hello, Izdihar. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, my joyful heart, for having me here and letting me talk about something I'm passionate about, and also explain, why I chose a joyful griever as my handle.
Absolutely. And can I just say, acknowledge quickly that we both
Yes.
matchy yellow today. You know,
Yes.
we're on the sunshine. Who would have thought,
Sunshine.
like having the talking about grieving process and death and passing, and self-healing. We were both of us popping the yellow color. Like it was, I wish we were so organized and say we did coordinate.
We did it on purpose.
Subconsciously, we kind of knew like kind of this topic, even though it is sad, it can be hard, and it can be heavy, but it also part of the package of life. And I just wanted to share like really quickly that when my grandmother Mamin passed away earlier, I think it was last year, you know, I was so sad because she's someone that I love the most. I haven't seen her for years because of COVID. She lives in another country. I live in another country, and that as soon as that found out, she immediately gave me her book, The Grieving Heart, and you know, the beautiful book, inspirational poem intended for learning. That's right, to learning to self-soothing, self-healing. And I wanted to Deb, and I Am Not Gone, which is in Spotlight magazine, available on Amazon. I Am Not Gone was the first, is the first poem, and it's the first poem in the book. It's the first poem that I read, and immediately it just calms me down because I'm thinking, oh, mommy is gone, I can't see her, and this and that. But the first one is Deb is telling me I'm not gone. So Deb, darling, can you start just by quickly reading the poem for me?
I would be delighted to share my poem with you and all who are tuning in. I put it first because it really encapsulates what I believe. And I'm going to just sneak this in. And that is, I follow the teaching of physics. Physics that teaches us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form. And I translate that as an artist, as a poet. I translate that into what made your beloved, you know, your loved one that you were mourning the loss of, you know, her soul, her spirit is energy. What makes you sparkle, and you sparkle, that's energy. Well, that cannot be destroyed. So with that in mind, allow me to read you I Am Not Gone.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to actually read this here. Even though my body gave out and I'm no longer around, I am not gone. For you, my child, who is still so young, I pray you'll never feel that I abandoned you or that you are all alone. I am not gone. It's not just your memories of me that will keep me alive, although thinking about how much I love you and how proud I am of you is good. There are other forces, factors, helpers that will be there for you when you need me. I am not gone. They will constantly come and go from your life, for there can never be another me. But be there for you, they will be. Coworkers, friends, relatives, and many more, providing you with comfort, advice, and care. So while it's true, I've left this realm, I'm still watching over you. And with my helpers, my agents, if you will, I am still there to guide you and advise you. I am not gone. When you miss me, just stand silently and listen to my voice beating inside you. My voice sings in the wind and will resound in others too, my helpers, for I am not gone.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's just the last paragraph. When you miss me, because I miss Mom so much. And you say that, just be silent and you can hear me, right? She's eating through me. She's in, everywhere.
Coursing through your veins. She's coursing through your veins.
Yes, she has always been a part of me. So this is what I wanted to talk about, that the grieving process is part of it, like not to bypass it. It is something that is important that anybody has to go through. So Deb, can you talk a little bit more about it? Why I just like sort myself out over here?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, understanding what causes the pain. Well, and you can go, well, Deb, that's simple. I just lost this person, this major part of my life, or a person who gave me life, or what have you. And what I base everything on is that we pinch ourselves off. We spend initially, and this is why I want people to embrace this process. It's uncomfortable, and that's okay. Like you mentioned already, it's part of a cycle. And as I like to say, a little cheeky, none of us are getting out of here alive. So it's definitely part of the process. And so what I want to foster within people is the ability to self-soothe, the ability to embrace this uncomfortable process for the purpose of self-soothing, adjusting to the fact that physically your loved one is no longer physically, but their essence is alive and well and right next to you and surrounding you and beating inside of you. They are not gone. Now, does that matter when all you want is a nice warm hug? No. But reading, keeping my book closed and flipping through it, and something will catch like it did with you. Something will resonate, and it may make you cry your eyes out, and that's good. Tears are the pressure valve to the soul. And with those tears and those ugly cry and everything, it does bring relief. And I also want to foster the ability to self-soothe for the purpose of moving to the next step, which is hopeful. And the third step, which is rejoining life full on again. And that brings me to a really critical thing here. And that is, when I lost my dad, who was the first person, very, very close to me. And I was lucky. I was in my 40s, before Dad made his transition, but I was gutted, as you are. And I was walking around clearly wearing my grief like a cloak, wearing my grief almost like a badge of honor. And one day, Izzy, I didn't hear a voice or anything like that, but all of a sudden I woke up with a solid knowing that this was not the way to honor my cherished, beloved father. The best way that I could honor him and his memory is to jump back in, both feet, grabbing life, wearing yellow, and just loving everything. So that's hopefully, one of the things that people in the various pieces that I've written and included in the book, that, it is a beginning, a middle, and an end. We are all a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's as tragic or light as we choose to make it. But I think part of what helps that choice is the knowing that our essence does live on. And my book, you may have noticed, it's non-denominational, grief is universal. And that's where I quote physics often.
Absolutely. And if you read Deb's book, right, I think what she did was so smart, because you put in a collection of poems that are about a page long. Some of it are two, but most of it are about a page long. And, because when you're grieving, the last thing you want to pick up a Tony Robbins book, right? Like, and kind of like read it all.
And we love Tony.
Yeah, we love Tony, but the last thing you are like, awaken the giant within. I don't want to awaken the giant, like, like Deb, her message self-soothe, kind of like use methods that can help you to take care of your heart, to take care of your body. So that was really smart what Deb did in creating those little poems, just really short, really simple, because I remembered on that day when Mommy passed away, things just jumble, right? I couldn't read properly and everything, but I could, with that poem, I couldn't pick up the words. I'm not gone, and here, in here. And the last paragraph, I could pick up a few simple words, even though I was functioning, but I'm actually not. So that is really smart. So self-soothing, that what Deb does with her poem and poetry and her work and her YouTube channel, Deb Rosman, The Joyful Griever. Now, Deb, talk about this thing about self-soothing, self-healing, because we know in our society there are people who turn into alcohol or drugs or whatever it is to kind of self-soothe them without. That's also a method of self-soothing, right?
It is, in fact. It's the numbing. We make choices. They're not all good.
Yes. Yes. So kind of like talk a little bit more. Why does it first start with self-soothing? Let's say using poetry, for example, or using movement, or using music, or using reading a particular verse or something. So talk about how we can do that and why is that important versus just kind of like shoving it so deep inside and not dealing with it.
Right. That's a very loaded question, insofar as that, yes, again, the purpose, my mission is to encourage, embrace the grieving process. Try as best as you can to relax into the pain. Now, I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, grief expert like that. I am a poet. I have a poet's heart. And this is why I won't tell you the 7 stages of grief. Like you said, you didn't want to read that. you're there licking your wounds, missing her. And that's not what you want to hear. Not that that's not, there's not a place for that. There certainly is. And I know people and can make recommendations of people who are flat out, that kind of counselor and have that kind of clinical background. I'm not clinical. I'm a person who breathes and eats and loves and cries and screams, and primal scream therapy. I did that a couple of times. But this is the thing. We are all so individual. Grief is universal, but the way we process it is completely as unique as our thumbprint. So that's why that's where the poetry comes from for me. Some of the things that I encourage, when talking and sharing the poems, my talks, I share, several pieces at one of my talks. And in between, I just let people know what I did, and what I did isn't going to necessarily work for you. But certainly, like I said, crying is actually good. People have been known to take a cocktail or a pill or a this or a that. And I'm not judging, there's a point, especially when it's so fresh, especially when all you can do is pinch yourself off, believing that they're gone from your life completely. Physically, yes, but not completely. But we pinch ourselves off. We tend to focus and look back where they used to be instead of acknowledging where they still are. But during that time, I want people to actually try to not only embrace the pain, but relax into the pain. And I use the poetry, to inspire tears. Walking in nature was one of the things that I did. Walking in nature. And in fact, the process of writing things down, it wasn't right away. I'm not gonna lie to people. It was many months into, the loss of my father, and right on the heels of that, I lost my sister. And then there was a family friend, and then there was my mother, all within a few short years. And I even lost my condo due to a fire. I was going through a lot of loss. And in fact, there were close friends of mine who were worried. They were worried about me and about my mental health. A friend loaned me her book, Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. And that was my introduction to the law of attraction, which is now, I always did use it, and you're familiar. I know you're familiar with it. That whatever you focus upon is your reality, whatever you stay focused upon. And that's why I want people to embrace the grieving process in order to move past it, move through it, embrace it. And things that I did that are, were on the healthier side. And all my choices were not healthy, but it was going to nature. And nature has always soothed me, and it's always inspired me, and it's always motivated me. And so I began to write. And yes, it actually, in my final poem in the book, if you'll let me share that at some point when we close, I do acknowledge, as you already acknowledged, the creativity is endless. It is singing, it's dancing, it's writing, it's sculpting, it's whatever connects you. And it's also a lovely way to create a memorial, for someone that you may be missing, to do a sculpture of them, for them, in their honor, in their name. But there are so many ways, but I hope, did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the part when you say, like you mentioned, that you go to nature. That's something that kind of like soothe you, calms you down. And this Japanese people that have a thing called forest bathing, when you kind of like go to the forest and bathe in the essence
Yes.
Of the forest, of the
Yes.
coolness, of the calmness, of the solitude of it. And obviously you breathe better because there's a lot of oxygen because
Correct.
of the trees. And some places you have the trees, you have the river, and it would be so beautiful, wouldn't it? You would step into the river as with the trees. Now, Deb, this grieving process, you mentioned that you had one loss after the other. Now, what I noticed with this grieving, I also had other family members who passed away, but because Mom is just so close to me, it doesn't stop. Like, it just like, I mean, like, it's not every day. I'm not saying that, but, there have been episodes, right? When I'm suddenly, oh no, like, I caught myself, I think about her. And the other day, and I woke up suddenly, oh my God, Mom is gone. I can't eat her cooking anymore. So it comes in episode. So do you have like what would be your tip in kind of like handling that? Because people just want it to end, right? Because it's so uncomfortable.
Yes,
You
people
have
do.
like a poetry that you, in your book, I think it's like in the middle, poetry. Do you have one that you can share a couple of lines with us to kind of soothe or your tips that you have in kind of like it's going to be an ongoing process, not just
Correct.
that moment and then it's gone. And so do you
Correct.
have any tips in kind of to navigate that, or do you have like a poetry that can kind of speak into
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And thank you. That said, it is an ongoing process. It has been, I mean, I lost mom in 2008. And, you know, are there times that, you know, I might well up? Sometimes, but it's very rare because I feel more her life force and her essence with me all the time. So somewhere between gutted and happy, you know, there was a transition. And again, for me, it was, you know, that's why I broke it down into loss, hope, and living. My good news is that grief is something that you can walk away from. It doesn't mean you're not going to miss your beloved, but it means that it won't control your life. Does it mean, you know, you won't want to try and recreate the recipe? You might. In fact, that's what I did when I lost mom. She was a great cook. And so I all I wanted to do was create her recipes and eat them. And I'm still working on getting rid of the extra pounds from that time. Now I feel like she's infused with me. As you know, I love to cook still, and I am now all about whole food, plant-based. And so I'm recreating mom's best recipes. But let me think. As far as a nugget, pearl of wisdom, once you've really embraced the process and aren't afraid of the pain, you then get to a point where you get your sea legs. And the key is to stop looking where they used to be. That just keeps us in that painful, pinched off loss. And the key is to acknowledge that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. And try to, through meditation, that would be the technique. The technique would be meditation. And some people are rubbish at it, like I am still, even though I do it every day. But that's where the walks in nature are just as good. So, and it's with the walks in nature that instead of pining over where they used to be, you can breathe in that clean air. You can, you know, enjoy those fresh ions in the air from the waterfall, and you can look toward where they are. And I think once you truly, truly accept that they are not gone, which is why that resonated with you so much and why it's the first piece. Once you can truly believe that they are not gone, then you become easy about it. Then the episodes that catch you off guard become less and less and less, and you actually get to the good part, living. And knowing that by you living your best and happiest life is honoring your loved one. That's when you feel their love shine in the sunshine down on your face.
That is absolutely beautiful. And what you mentioned about life force, right? You know, like the transition, like, you know, from gutted, heartbroken, everything to kind of where you are now, is the life force that, you know, the life force is always going to be within you, in your presence, around you, wherever it is. For some reason, it reminds me of Tony Robbins' book again, because he just had a book, Life Force.
Tony just keeps bombing this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God. Like, but it's kind of like the life force is like it's within you, right? And that life force can manifest in different ways. It can manifest in tears, in laughter, in joy, in movement. Exactly, cooking. Like for you, if you check on Deb's Instagram, she's always cooking. She's now moved on to plant-based whole food now.
Yes,
God knows what she ate before, but now it's like plant-based whole
delicious things.
so it's kind of, she's recreating things
Yes,
with a twist. That's what I
correct.
wanted to say, recreating
Correct.
things with a twist. So Deb, before we kind of wrap up this
Right.
session, and when we wrap up, I want you to read your final poem, as I told you,
Correct.
because we read the first and we'll read the final one. And question then,
Mhm.
what is the one thing that what is one fun thing that you do that people don't know about, apart from cooking and going into the forest?
Well, the fun thing for me is theater, as in, well, not just going to the theater. I love going to the theater, but I have fabulous theatrical friends. Kelly Burr is a brilliant young playwright, and so I get called into Zoom groups through her website and through her events, and we do readings. We do staged readings and whatnot. My original passion was the theater, as in to be an actor. And also, while I'm giving the shout out there, Chris Unker is the person who, when people go and view my beautiful videos in on my channel, that gorgeous music, he's the composer and he's brilliant. And so between the two of them, they help polish this rough stone. And they're fabulous. But so that's what I like to do for fun. I like to do staged readings and full-on plays when there's not a pandemic. And it's called getting on the boards, the like Broadway, the boards.
Oh, that's amazing.
So a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Did
think
you know
you
that?
mentioned to me before, right? You told me before your background has always been in theater, right? And then you showed me that picture when you were in theater.
Oh yes.
Years ago. But
Yes.
kind of like that's also because you have a creative vibe in you. So you do
Right.
poetry, you do Broadway stage acting or stage performance. It's kind of like channeling your creativity there. And I just wanted to say, like, really quickly, when I first met Deb, you mentioned to me that you've always been everyone else cheerleader.
Right.
And then when I met you and I wanted to invite you to my collaborating book, it is done here. And then I'm like, and then you told me, you know what? It's time for me. Yes, this book. We gotta be cool and have it done.
I have it.
We kind of like take a picture and kind of hold the book together, didn't we? And just like be with the cool part. There we go. And
Here
then
we
take
go.
a picture. Oopsie, brilliant.
Oh, I love your case.
Thank you. It's like sunshine
So shiny.
as well, isn't it? And you mentioned that now you've been everyone else cheerleader for the last how many every years, but today is the time when you are becoming your own biggest cheerleader.
Correct.
And this is what, I see that day when Deb told me, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can see her like putting yourself out there, like cheering for yourself,
for others,
cheering for others, cheering for yourself, right. And becoming other people's biggest cheerleader and your own biggest cheerleader. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for your essence, for putting yourself out there, for sharing your voice, your beautiful, heartwarming, self-soothing voice that can help, grieving hearts, transitioning from the heartbreak to slowly transitioning to joy or happiness and feeling that life force. So Deb, darling, let's end with your final poetry of the day.
Absolutely. And in fact, it is the title piece, The Grieving Heart.
Yes.
And I think it says it all.
Yes.
Put the glasses back on. The grieving heart is a heavy heart, for it bears the weight of a loss. It can feel like a broken heart which at times is angry, frightened, and confused. The grieving heart requires special handling because it is so bruised, but given time, it will mend. What is most important for the grieving heart to know is that it must be allowed time and space to grieve. The grieving heart is a giving heart that can find ways to turn the pain into a means of affecting a positive future while honoring the loved one lost to them. The grieving heart is a hopeful heart that one day we will find a cure or build the ballpark or break ground on a new museum, for the grieving heart knows no bounds to its creativity. It will put into words, pictures, paintings, songs, sculpture, dance, whatever it takes to remember their loved ones. The grieving heart is so full of love, which is what causes it to hurt so much until it has had time to grieve and thus heal. The grieving heart is everyone's heart from time to time. So find your way to turn this loss into an action that will honor the one for whom you grieve today. Create a legacy of love for them that you can leave behind, or when you are ready, but not before it's time, walk away from your grieving heart and do what honors the one lost to you the most. Live your life.
Oh, what a beautiful thing to say, and what a beautiful thing to add to, like, the grieving heart is the heart because it loves the most, right?
Yes.
That's why it hurts. And when we're ready, we can walk away from it and live our life to the best that we can in memory or in honor of those that we love the most. So thank you so much, Deb Rosman. What a beautiful conversation. Like now I'm like, I gotta sort myself out after this. Like
It's okay.
it's okay. Exactly.
It's okay.
And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. And and I pray that this voice of yours, this message story is gonna soothe thousands and millions of people as time goes on, to soothe their grieving heart, or may know others who need some help, or may know others who need some cuddles, or
Right.
the grieving heart, or your book. So the grieving heart is available, both the grieving heart and It Is Done are available on Amazon.
Correct.
So if you haven't already got a copy, go and grab a copy. Deb has Kindle version. She also has paperback. Deb, darling, do you have Audible version just for the Grieving Heart, or is it Kindle and paperback?
Not at this time. Actually, one of the things that I am doing with my channel is to give an Audible version, basically, because I am working my way through the book, and so that people will be able to just hit play, close their eyes, and listen to me read.
That is amazing. So you can go to Deb's YouTube channel, which is called Deb Rosman, The Joyful Griever, and you can find her on debrosman.com. So Deb, thank you so much. What a wonderful, beautiful conversation today. May peace be upon you until the next episode. This is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Tell yourself, yes, I can. And so it is done. Deb, darling, say bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, my gorgeous friend. Thank you.